As we age, there's a quiet truth many of us come to understand. Loneliness is not always solved by the people we've known the longest, but by those who truly understand what we're going through right now. Peer support groups, particularly those made up of fellow seniors navigating similar life transitions, have become one of the most valuable and underutilized health and wellness tools for people over 60. These aren't just weekly meetups filled with small talk. They're therapeutic ecosystems where validation, resilience, and practical solutions flourish. What makes these groups unique is that they are built around shared experience. Unlike sympathy from younger family members or friends who mean well but simply cannot relate, fellow seniors and peer groups often offer something far more powerful: empathy rooted in lived experience. Whether it's dealing with chronic illness, the loss of a spouse, changes in mobility, or fears about independence, these are not abstract discussions. They are daily realities spoken out loud and answered with nods of recognition. According to a study published in the Journal of Aging and Health, seniors who regularly participate in peer support groups experience a 30% lower rate of depression and report significantly better emotional coping mechanisms than their non-participating counterparts. The reason for this is neurological as much as it is emotional. Human brains are wired for connection, and shared narrative creates a sense of safety that fosters both mental and physical well-being. Another study from the National Institute on Aging revealed that peer-based emotional support can actually help reduce systemic inflammation, which is often at the root of conditions like heart disease, arthritis, and even Alzheimer's. The biological impact of simply feeling understood is measurable and meaningful. What's even more promising is that these groups often become spaces for learning. Seniors share strategies they've picked up over the years: nutrition tips, affordable mobility tools, how to communicate effectively with dismissive doctors, or what to expect from certain medications. It's not unusual for someone to learn more in one honest peer conversation than they might during a rushed clinic visit. And the confidence this builds can be transformative. People who once felt overwhelmed by their health conditions begin asking better questions at medical appointments. They sleep better knowing they're not alone in their struggles. They start walking taller, eating smarter, and facing each day with more optimism. Peer support groups also provide what psychologists call social accountability. When you share your goals, like improving balance, starting a walking routine, or finally trying therapy, with a group that checks in on you weekly, you're far more likely to follow through. In fact, studies show that people are 65% more likely to meet health-related goals when they have social support specifically designed for that purpose. The very act of verbalizing a goal in front of a peer group creates internal commitment and motivation. And then there's the protective factor against cognitive decline. Engaging in regular, structured social interactions stimulates memory, language, and executive functioning, cognitive abilities that often decline when people live in isolation. The Alzheimer's Association now actively recommends participation in social communities like peer groups as part of a broader prevention strategy. Beyond all this science lies something more human: dignity. In peer support groups, you're not being cared for, you're part of a mutual circle of care. That difference is crucial. It restores agency and a sense of usefulness, which are often the first casualties of aging in a society that equates youth with value. People in these groups don't just listen. They look you in the eye and tell you, "I've been there too, and here's what helped me." That shared strength is far more than emotional comfort. It's a kind of medicine in its own right. These bonds, forged not by blood but by experience, often become stronger than family ties because they're free of the baggage, history, and sometimes pity that can color relationships with loved ones. Instead, they're built on the fierce honesty and shared vulnerability that define real human connection. The good news is that access to these groups has never been easier. Community centers, libraries, hospitals, and even faith organizations often host them. And for those with limited mobility or who live in rural areas, virtual support groups have made it possible to connect with others from the comfort of your living room. Some groups are focused on specific issues like grieving, diabetes management, or stroke recovery, while others are more general wellness groups focused on maintaining vitality and joy through the aging process. The format might be different, but the heart of these communities is the same: a place where your challenges are understood, your stories are honored, and your voice is heard. If you've never tried joining one, Consider it not just a social activity, but a strategic move for your health. Just 1 hour a week could reshape your emotional landscape and deepen your connection to a tribe that gets you, one that may end up being more consistent and nurturing than family. When we reframe aging as a collective journey rather than a solitary decline, we give ourselves the best chance at thriving. And it starts, quite simply, by sitting in a circle with people who see you, know your battle, and remind you that you're not walking this path alone. Navigating the healthcare system after 60 is like walking through a maze that keeps shifting, one filled with new medications, more frequent doctor visits, and subtle changes in the body that once went unnoticed. At the center of this complex web, one professional can make the difference between feeling overwhelmed and being in control: a geriatric specialist. Unlike general practitioners, geriatricians are trained specifically to understand the intricacies of aging, how multiple conditions interact, how the same medication affects an 80-year-old differently than a 40-year-old, and how quality of life is often more important than aggressive treatment. Geriatricians take a comprehensive approach that prioritizes function over fixing, prevention over prescription, and personalization over protocol. They understand that a fall isn't just a trip. It could be the first warning sign of muscular atrophy, inner ear imbalance, or an adverse drug interaction. They also grasp the emotional nuance of aging: the fear of losing independence, the grief that lingers longer than expected, or the decision to stop a treatment not because it's ineffective, but because it's no longer worth the toll it takes on day-to-day living. According to the American Geriatric Society, patients under the care of a geriatrician experience fewer emergency room visits, reduced medication errors, and significantly lower hospitalization rates. That's because these specialists don't just treat symptoms. They manage the entire aging process with the wisdom and caution it demands. Where most doctors might see an elderly patient with joint pain, a geriatrician sees a person at risk of isolation, reduced mobility, depression, and even early dementia if that pain isn't addressed holistically. They don't just ask, "What hurts?" They ask, "What matters most to you right now?" That shift in perspective recenters care around what truly improves your life, not just what appears normal on a chart. One of the most vital aspects of working with a geriatric specialist is medication management. It's no secret that polypharmacy, taking multiple medications, is a serious issue for seniors. It's not uncommon for an older adult to be on 10 or more prescriptions, each prescribed by a different specialist who may not be communicating with the others. A geriatrician reviews every drug, every dosage, and every interaction. They're trained to deprescribe, a practice that's become essential as new research shows that many seniors are on medications that do more harm than good. In fact, a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that nearly 40% of older adults could safely reduce or eliminate at least one prescription with no negative impact, and in many cases, significant improvement in clarity, energy, and balance. Geriatricians also conduct in-depth assessments that go beyond blood pressure and cholesterol. They evaluate gait, memory, grip strength, sleep patterns, nutrition, and home safety risks. This full-spectrum view gives them the ability to intervene early, before a stroke, before a fall, before a cognitive slide becomes a diagnosis. In a world where the average primary care appointment lasts just 15 minutes, geriatricians often spend twice that time, digging into the details that can prevent small issues from becoming life-altering crises. And it's not just about physical health. Mental and emotional wellness are front and center in geriatric care. Depression in seniors often goes undiagnosed because it presents differently, through fatigue, weight loss, irritability, or even forgetfulness. A geriatrician knows these signs and doesn't dismiss them as simply getting older. They're also trained to involve caregivers without disempowering the patient, striking that delicate balance between support and autonomy. This becomes crucial when making decisions about assisted living, in-home care, or end-of-life planning. In fact, many seniors report feeling more in control of their future and less anxious about aging when working closely with a geriatrician. They feel heard, understood, and most importantly, respected. Another benefit of geriatric care is continuity. As mobility declines or memory fades, the ability to build a relationship with a trusted doctor becomes essential. Unlike bouncing from specialist to specialist, seniors with a dedicated geriatrician enjoy consistency. This long-term partnership means their doctor knows their story, their preferences, their fears, and their goals. And in emergencies, that context can mean the difference between an unnecessary hospitalization and a simple, personalized treatment plan. It's worth noting that geriatricians often coordinate care across all specialties. They become the conductor of the medical orchestra, ensuring that cardiologists, neurologists, and endocrinologists aren't all playing a different tune. This coordination reduces stress for both the patient and the family, who no longer have to decipher conflicting advice or redundant tests. In an era where healthcare often feels cold and mechanical, geriatric care stands out as one of the last true models of personalized, human-first medicine. And while there's currently a shortage of geriatricians in many areas, the awareness is growing. Teaching hospitals, elder-focused clinics, and even some primary care practices now incorporate geriatric principles. But it starts with the patient asking the right question. Do you have someone on your team who understands aging as deeply as they understand illness? Because aging isn't a diagnosis, it's a journey. And like any journey, having the right guide can change everything. From preventing burnout to optimizing brain health, from minimizing side effects to maximizing joy, a geriatric specialist becomes not just a doctor you visit, but an advocate you trust. They are the expert you call first, the calm in the storm, and often the difference between surviving and thriving in the years that matter most. As the years pass, movement can start to feel optional, something to squeeze in if there's time or if energy allows. But science tells us otherwise. For seniors, movement isn't just good advice. It's medicine. And not just any kind of medicine. It's one of the most effective, accessible, and side effect-free treatments for nearly every aspect of aging. What transforms this movement from a solitary chore into a powerful health tool is joining a senior fitness community. These are spaces, both physical and virtual, designed with older adults in mind, where motivation is shared, safety is prioritized, and social connection becomes part of the exercise itself. While going for a walk alone might help burn a few calories, exercising within a community setting activates something deeper and more sustainable: accountability, camaraderie, and consistency. According to research from the Mayo Clinic, seniors who participate in structured group fitness activities are 48% more likely to stick with a long-term exercise routine than those who go it alone. Why? Because these communities provide more than workouts. They offer encouragement, laughter, and the healing power of being seen. From water aerobics and Tai Chi to resistance bands and balance drills, these groups cater to various levels of mobility and health status, proving that age doesn't have to be a barrier to activity. In fact, tailored movement is often the key to reversing issues we assume are permanent. A study published in the Journal of Physical Activity and Health showed that older adults who exercised in community-based programs saw improvements not only in muscle tone and joint function, but in cognitive performance and emotional regulation. Simply put, the brain lights up when the body moves, especially when it's surrounded by others doing the same. Movement enhances blood flow to the brain, which boosts memory, processing speed, and mental clarity. For seniors experiencing the early signs of cognitive decline, regular exercise can slow that progression in a measurable way. Beyond the brain, the heart reaps massive benefits from consistent physical activity. Group workouts designed for older adults often include cardiovascular elements that gently increase heart rate, improving circulation and reducing blood pressure. These sessions also boost respiratory strength, which is especially valuable for those with conditions like COPD or asthma. And let's not overlook balance, the hidden foundation of independence. Falls remain one of the leading causes of injury and hospitalization among seniors, and many of those falls are preventable through balance-specific training. Community fitness programs frequently include exercises that strengthen core muscles, improve proprioception, and retrain the body to respond with agility. Over time, what starts as a tentative step forward becomes a confident stride. Emotional well-being also flourishes in these environments. Loneliness, which affects nearly 1 in 4 seniors, has been linked to increased risks of dementia, heart disease, and even early death. But in a fitness community, participants gain more than just exercise, they gain friends. They build routines, traditions, and support systems. They celebrate milestones together, share stories between stretches, and become reminders to each other that life is still full of possibility. Some programs even include post-workout coffee chats or educational talks on health topics, turning each visit into a full-spectrum wellness experience. Importantly, these groups foster a sense of purpose. Having a place to go, people expecting you, and a role within a social structure creates a rhythm that's psychologically grounding. Motivation grows not just from personal health goals, but from not wanting to let down the friend who always sets up your yoga mat or the instructor who remembers your name. For those managing chronic illnesses like arthritis, diabetes, or osteoporosis, the benefits are even more profound. Movement reduces inflammation, regulates blood sugar, and strengthens bones, often enough to reduce the need for medication or prevent additional complications. And because these programs are run by professionals who understand the physiology of aging, modifications are always available, ensuring that no one feels left behind. One of the greatest misconceptions about aging is that slowing down is inevitable. But fitness communities for seniors defy that myth every single day. In one such community in Oregon, the average participant age is 72, and many of them report feeling stronger and more energetic than they did in their 50s. They're hiking, dancing, swimming, lifting, and most importantly, they're living. Digital platforms have made these communities more accessible than ever. Online senior fitness classes, whether through YouTube, Zoom, or specialized apps, bring the same group dynamic to those who prefer or need to stay home. With chat functions, progress tracking, and peer encouragement, these platforms mimic in-person energy and continue the mission of turning movement into medicine. It's never about how much you can lift or how far you can stretch. It's about staying engaged, keeping your body in motion, and refusing to let inactivity write your story. Whether you're recovering from surgery, managing joint pain, or simply hoping to feel more vibrant, joining a fitness community might be one of the most important decisions you make. Because within these circles of movement, something magical happens. Health improves, spirits lift, and age becomes just another number, not a limitation. There's a profound shift that often happens in the years following retirement. A sense of time opening up, paired with the lingering question of how best to fill it. While many seniors relish the opportunity to slow down, travel, or pursue hobbies, an equally important, and often more impactful, desire emerges: the need to feel useful. Purpose, it turns out, is not just a philosophical luxury. It's a measurable health asset. Studies have repeatedly shown that seniors who engage in activities that give their life meaning, particularly through volunteering or mentorship, enjoy better mental health, lower rates of chronic disease, and even increased longevity. One landmark study from the University of Michigan found that older adults with a strong sense of purpose were 37% less likely to die over a 7-year period than their peers who felt aimless. That number wasn't tied to physical fitness or financial status. It was linked directly to the psychological fuel of feeling like you still matter. And in many communities, seniors are discovering this fuel in roles that let them give back. Tutoring children, mentoring younger professionals, serving meals at shelters, working with local charities, or offering companionship at nursing homes. These acts of service aren't just altruistic, they activate a powerful neurological response. Volunteering regularly releases dopamine and oxytocin, chemicals associated with happiness, trust, and bonding. These are the same chemicals responsible for the post-exercise high or the joy of connecting with a loved one. When triggered through purpose-driven action, they counteract the stress hormones that age us, like cortisol, and promote a sense of calm resilience. Just as physical movement keeps the body limber, meaningful engagement keeps the spirit agile. In fact, seniors who participate in purpose-oriented activities tend to sleep better, experience less inflammation, and show greater resistance to cognitive decline. Mentorship, in particular, is an area where older adults can shine. Years of experience, whether professional, personal, or both, are a treasure trove of insights that younger generations are eager to access. Organizations across the country have begun establishing intergenerational programs where seniors coach, advise, or simply share space with younger people, exchanging wisdom and gaining fresh perspective in return. This reciprocity nourishes both parties. For the elder, it reinforces a sense of worth and legacy. For the mentee, it offers grounding, reassurance, and often, life-changing guidance. According to a report from AARP, seniors who mentor regularly experience significantly less depression, greater mobility, and higher overall satisfaction with life. This isn't about clinging to the past or trying to stay relevant. It's about realizing that you already are relevant. Your presence, your voice, your insights, they all carry weight. When seniors view themselves as a resource rather than a burden, the ripple effect on health is undeniable. Volunteering and mentoring also increase social connectivity, which is a critical buffer against isolation. Whether it's weekly shifts at a community pantry or virtual sessions with a student across the country, these relationships weave a net of belonging that sustains emotional wellness. Purpose strengthens resilience too. Seniors who feel their days have meaning are better equipped to recover from illness, grief, or major life changes. The psychological drive to keep showing up, to keep giving, becomes a kind of inner scaffolding that holds them steady through difficult times. And purpose doesn't need to look grand to be powerful. Some find it in gardening for the local park, helping immigrants learn English, crafting quilts for hospital patients, or even running a local book club. What matters is not the activity, but the intention behind it. Does it connect you to others? Does it stretch your heart or your mind? Does it leave you feeling more alive than when you began? If the answer is yes, then it counts. Communities that prioritize senior involvement often see improvements across the board, not just in health metrics, but in community cohesion, reduced generational tension, and increased civic engagement. This is why more senior centers and retirement communities are redesigning their models, not to offer passive care, but to create platforms for contribution. Purpose also encourages planning for the future in proactive ways. Seniors who volunteer are more likely to take care of their own health, show up for medical appointments, and engage in preventive care. They don't see themselves as winding down, but as being in a new, vital chapter. Their mental framework shifts from one of slow decline to one of sustained contribution. That mindset alone can change a life. In many ways, purpose is the heartbeat of a fulfilling later life. It infuses every day with direction, every interaction with meaning. And for seniors who embrace this, the rewards aren't just emotional, they're physical, cognitive, and long-lasting. If you've ever wondered whether you still have something to offer, let the answer be this: you do. Not despite your age, but because of it. And in sharing your time, your story, and your gifts, you may find that what you give away returns to you in the form of deeper joy, greater health, and a life that continues to expand rather than shrink. In a world that moves increasingly online, it's easy to feel left behind, especially if you didn't grow up with a smartphone in your hand or a computer on your desk. But for seniors, embracing digital tools isn't about chasing trends. It's about unlocking an entirely new realm of support, companionship, and health. Digital companionship doesn't replace in-person connection. It supplements it, fills the gaps, and creates bridges across distance and circumstance. From virtual social groups and health tracking apps to online therapy sessions and video calls with faraway family, the digital space has become a lifeline for older adults seeking to remain connected, informed, and emotionally nourished. In fact, a study published by the National Institute on Aging found that seniors who engage with digital platforms for communication and information are 41% less likely to report feelings of chronic loneliness. This is a staggering statistic, considering that loneliness has now been classified as a public health risk, comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. But the remedy doesn't always lie in grand gestures or moving closer to family. Sometimes, it's found in a simple video call with a friend from a support group, a heartwarming comment on a photo you've shared, or even the quiet companionship of a virtual book club that meets every Thursday evening. The beauty of digital companionship lies in its flexibility. Seniors who are homebound due to illness or mobility issues can still attend church services, join laughter yoga classes, or participate in grief groups, all from the safety and comfort of their living room. For those grieving the loss of a spouse or adjusting to life in a new city, these online spaces often provide the first real sense of connection in weeks or even months. And while the learning curve can feel steep at first, the payoff is enormous. Numerous organizations now offer senior-focused digital literacy programs, teaching how to use video conferencing, social media, health portals, and more in a patient, accessible way. Libraries, community centers, and even tech companies have recognized the importance of equipping seniors with digital tools, and they're stepping up. And once that initial barrier is crossed, a new world opens up. Many seniors find that their quality of life improves not just socially but medically as well. Telehealth appointments allow for easier communication with doctors, quicker follow-ups, and more frequent check-ins for those managing chronic conditions. Medication reminders sent by apps help improve adherence to treatment plans, reducing complications and hospital visits. Wearable devices like fitness trackers and smartwatches offer real-time insights into heart rate, sleep quality, and step counts, providing data that can lead to more personalized, proactive care. In a survey conducted by AARP, 71% of adults over 60 reported that using technology to manage their health made them feel more empowered and less anxious about the aging process. But empowerment doesn't stop at physical health. Online platforms have given rise to thriving communities centered around shared interests, life stages, and wellness goals. There are forums for seniors navigating widowhood, chat rooms for those exploring second careers, and video classes for everything from painting to meditation. These aren't passive experiences. They're active, dynamic interactions that keep the mind stimulated and the spirit engaged. For many, digital friendships forged in these spaces become just as meaningful as those made in person. There's a sense of continuity, of being part of something evolving, alive, and responsive. And for seniors who live far from family or in areas with limited community resources, these digital connections can mean the difference between isolation and inclusion. Even platforms like Facebook and YouTube, often dismissed as shallow, can offer genuine benefits when used mindfully. Watching videos of old concerts, connecting with a childhood friend, or commenting on a shared recipe can ignite memory, conversation, and joy. For grandparents, platforms like FaceTime or WhatsApp have become vital tools for staying involved in the lives of grandchildren, attending birthday parties virtually, and even reading bedtime stories across time zones. There's also the growing field of digital mental health support. Seniors today can access online counseling, guided journaling apps, mindfulness programs, and cognitive behavioral therapy tools tailored specifically to older adults. These resources are discreet, affordable, and available around the clock, offering emotional support at the exact moment it's needed. And for those uncomfortable discussing sensitive issues in person, digital options offer a gentle entry point. Safety is, of course, a concern in the digital world, but with proper guidance and awareness, seniors can navigate online spaces with confidence. Simple strategies like learning to recognize scams, setting strong passwords, and using privacy settings go a long way in protecting both identity and peace of mind. And again, community plays a role here too. Senior tech groups often discuss these topics openly, helping each other stay informed and secure. Ultimately, embracing digital companionship isn't about becoming tech-savvy overnight. It's about realizing that the tools to enhance your well-being are no longer limited by geography, mobility, or circumstance. Connection, knowledge, and support are just a click away. And for seniors willing to take that first step, the digital world doesn't feel distant or intimidating. It feels like a place to belong. In a life stage where staying connected becomes more important than ever, technology becomes not just a convenience, but a lifeline, and perhaps even a source of joy. In the later decades of life, many seniors discover that the most profound stressors don't always come from the body, but from paperwork, decisions, and the ever-growing list of what-ifs that come with aging. Questions like, what happens if I can't make decisions for myself? Or will I have enough to live on comfortably? Or how can I protect my home and assets from future risks? Can weigh heavier than any physical ailment. Yet, despite the complexity of these concerns, few seniors have a reliable system in place to manage them. That's where legal and financial allies come in, not just as service providers, but as essential pillars of support that can safeguard your health, your independence, and your peace of mind. These professionals, attorneys, financial planners, elder law advocates, and fiduciary advisors are not just for the wealthy or the elite. They're for anyone who wants to age with clarity, dignity, and control. A trusted advisor can turn a maze of confusing paperwork into a clear path forward, ensuring that your wishes are respected and your future is protected. One of the most overlooked but vital tools for seniors is an advance directive, a legal document that outlines your healthcare preferences should you become unable to communicate them. Along with a healthcare proxy and power of attorney, these documents ensure that decisions about your body and your assets are not left to chance or guesswork. Yet, according to a report from the Kaiser Family Foundation, fewer than 1 in 3 seniors have these forms completed. That's not due to negligence. It's usually due to overwhelm, fear, or simply not knowing where to begin. Legal advocates help lift that burden, guiding you step by step through the process and ensuring nothing is left out or misunderstood. This kind of planning is not morbid, it's empowering. It places the power back in your hands and relieves family members of painful guesswork during crises. Financial planners, too, serve as allies in a landscape that's grown increasingly complicated. From managing retirement funds and pensions to navigating Social Security, Medicare, and long-term care insurance, these professionals help seniors make the most of what they have. They can identify gaps in coverage, optimize withdrawals to minimize taxes, and offer strategies to extend savings without compromising comfort. Perhaps even more importantly, they serve as protectors against scams, mismanagement, and risky investments, dangers that disproportionately target older adults. The FBI reports that seniors lose billions each year to financial fraud, often because they don't have an informed second set of eyes on their accounts or decisions. Having a trustworthy advisor in your corner dramatically reduces that risk. It's not about relinquishing control, it's about gaining confidence in the choices you make. For those navigating long-term care decisions like whether to age in place, move to assisted living, or consider skilled nursing facilities, legal and financial professionals can provide insight that balances cost, care, and personal preference. Elder law attorneys, in particular, are trained to look at the entire picture. They understand Medicaid eligibility, veterans benefits, estate planning, and how to protect assets while still qualifying for government support. These experts don't just fill out forms, they strategize for the long term, ensuring that every choice aligns with your values and financial reality. And when legal issues do arise, disputes over property, challenges with landlords or service providers, or misunderstandings with healthcare institutions, having legal support ready can make the difference between a minor hiccup and a major upheaval. Another crucial but often underappreciated ally is the patient advocate. These professionals, often based in hospitals or hired independently, help seniors navigate the healthcare system. They accompany you to appointments, clarify confusing medical jargon, help appeal insurance denials, and ensure that your voice is heard in clinical settings. For seniors who feel rushed, dismissed, or overwhelmed during medical visits, advocates act as a buffer and a support, making sure that nothing important gets missed or misunderstood. They can also help coordinate care between multiple doctors, keeping communication clear and reducing the risk of medication errors or duplicated tests. For seniors who live alone or who don't have family nearby, these advocates can be a lifeline, providing not only information but compassionate presence during vulnerable moments. Together, legal, financial, and healthcare advocates form a network that many seniors don't realize they can build. But once it's in place, it becomes a foundation that supports everything else, from housing and medical care to legacy and peace of mind. It's important to note that these allies should be chosen with care. Transparency, reputation, and a willingness to explain things clearly are non-negotiable. Always look for advisors who specialize in elder care, who listen more than they talk, and who treat your future with the seriousness it deserves. Resources like the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys or local area agencies on aging can help you find qualified professionals who are well-versed in the unique needs of seniors. And for those worried about cost, many legal clinics and nonprofit organizations offer free or sliding scale services tailored for older adults. The goal is not to complicate your life, but to simplify it. When you have legal documents in place, a financial strategy you understand, and someone who can help you interpret the fine print of a hospital bill, you sleep better. You plan better. You live better. Because you're no longer reacting to crises. You're preparing for life with intention. In a time when the unexpected feels more possible than ever, this kind of support doesn't just feel good. It becomes essential. It's a reminder that aging well isn't just about the body or the mind. It's also about building structures around you that hold steady, even when everything else is shifting. And sometimes those structures come in the form of a phone call to a trusted advisor, a hidden lifeline that ends up being stronger than family.